Well, this is the first video of our podcast of us chatting about the Hero's Journal.
Oh yeah.
We'll workshop some names. I feel like it's wrong to give it a name before we finish our first episode.
It's true. I mean, luckily we have other things going on in the business, so this isn't like our only thing, you know? So who knows? Maybe people can give us some name ideas.
Yeah, I'm just bummed like this. It wasn't as like natural as like the Heroes Quarters.
It's true.
The Heroes Quarters was something we saw from like the parking lot. We knew about the Heroes Quarters before we even made a journal.
Yeah, no, it was definitely in the crosshairs for a while. The podcast it's funny, the history of the podcast is actually longer than a lot of the things in our business, like even our YouTube channel.
Are you talking about history of podcasts in general?
Yes.
Or just like...
Yeah, that's what I was referring to. No, I mean, we tried to do a podcast almost like over a year ago.
Yeah.
And it just didn't really work out. It didn't really feel like the right time. I think that the product and the business isn't where it wanted to be. We didn't really have like the help that we do now.
Yeah.
So like doing this now is like a lot more timely, but we still don't have a name, which is the bummer.
We were like thinking about like a Hero Cast. Yeah, that feels wrong.
It feels taken, you know?
Yeah.
Someone out there has to have a podcast called Hero Cast. I'm sure it's great.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a wonderful podcast. So if you're out there and you want to watch the Hero Cast, go out there.
This is an ad for the Hero Cast podcast.
But yeah, so I think that like because this is the first one, we wanted an opportunity to show people more of the like business side of what we're doing here. We do the talking heads, which are very story driven.
Yeah.
We are going to do vlogs about us kind of just around the house, which is really awesome. And we also have like the live streams where we talk about lore and drink coffee and chat with people. But we don't really have a dedicated time to really just chat about like our journey, starting off with the Kickstarter and so on and so forth.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. I mean, for those who maybe don't know, we recently moved into this big house. We're calling it the Heroes Headquarters. We're really big on names. If you didn't pick up on that, except for the podcast, apparently. We moved into this house. It was like me and Kyle, and then Bert and Zach, a couple of people that are helping us, grow the journal into something really big. So obviously, I mean, if you've taken a look at us for any period of time, you can see that we've tried to produce a lot of content. We're on YouTube, we're on like TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're all over the place. And so a podcast was kind of bound to happen. But to Kyle's point, like we didn't really have a place to share, I don't know, just maybe some like the more long form, down to earth parts of what like the actual like real life process of living in a house and running a business, fulfilling out of the same house, like what all of that is actually like. We didn't really see any podcasts or any long form content out there like this. So we stepped up and decided to do this, even though we have no name. So this is kind of the lane that the podcast I think will be in, at least initially, or maybe even just for today. Who knows?
Yeah, and if you're watching this and you have an incredible name for what we should call this, please leave a comment. Or if you have an idea of things maybe you want to hear us talk about, we love getting that feedback. It doesn't mean we'll necessarily talk about it, but it definitely helps us get a better understanding of what you all want from us and want to hear about our story. Because we'll just talk about things we're interested in, which I think we're pretty good at.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
We probably do that maybe too much. So getting some feedback will be helpful.
Yeah, getting some feedback would be great. We live in this crazy, unprecedented time that everyone loves to say, but I'm not talking about the global pandemic. I'm talking about the fact that technology and the ability to interact with like people that buy our journal and like see our advertisements, like that has never really existed in the way that it does now. So when we say like leave us feedback, we really mean like this is our attempt to like have a conversation. Like, what are the kind of cool things that you wish existed in your life? That's where the journal came out of for us. Like, we didn't set out to create a company and move into a house and fulfill journals out of a warehouse. And like, we were searching on like Amazon and other e-commerce platforms and stuff like that to find a journal that told a story about our lives, that helped us like engage with our goals through the power of story. And there was literally nothing. So we had to do it. So every cool thing that's come out of this house and out of this, business has been from a conversation. from a piece of feedback. So we hope that you guys seriously consider like knowing that you're part of that conversation. We're not trying to create like entertainment for you. We're trying to have a conversation with you guys, and obviously having a conversation with each other. So doubling down on the feedback comment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking a little bit about our story, we've told our story on like every medium. We've probably told our story hundreds of times, if not thousands at this point. Looking back on it, would you say that all the stuff that we did, it was going to play out like this?
Yes. No, I mean, never. No one's ever, look, like starting a business, if you own a business, run a business, are thinking about starting a business, like you should know now that things never play out the way you want them to, or the way that you imagine. And that tends to be better than what you had imagined in the first place. Humans, we tend to fool ourselves pretty easily. Like, I mean, even when it comes to simple things, but we sell a goal journal. And one thing that we realize about ourselves, which is reflected on a lot of humans when it comes to goal setting, is like kind of overestimating what you're capable of, or maybe even overestimating your interest in what you're capable of doing, or even desire to do. So whatever it may be, like, I think the truth is you find a few things that you can do really well. You find a few things that are simple, and it'll turn out the way it's supposed to turn out. And that's the way you actually end up, wanting it to turn out. Yeah. I think that if everything turned out the way we wanted it to initially with the journal, I don't think we'd even be here. I think we'd probably still be working full time, like at a desk job, running this on the side. Mm-hmm. So no, I never would have expected that we'd be living in a house like together. Like, we have people that we pay to help us run this thing. We have a podcast. We have like a YouTube channel. I never, ever would have expected that it would have played out this way. And in the way that it's trending, like every day it just gets more and more unbelievable in the best way. Like, I think we were sitting around last night just hanging out after like working hours were done, and we're just like, this is a crazy life we get to live. Yeah. So anyway, no.
Yeah. So let's dive into like the working hours thing.
Yeah.
So for those of you, a little backstory, Nick and I are very different with the way that we work. Mm-hmm. I'm very like probably traditional 8 to 5. I get my tasks done.
Yeah.
Whereas Nick is very like midnight to midnight. Whereas there might be moments where you catch him where his thoughts somewhere else. But yeah, there were moments where we would be sitting there. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. It'd be like 10 p.m. And you're like, but we have to do this now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole roommates thing, best friends thing, we'd be like playing video games, something like that until like 10. And then you're like, now we have to do this. And I was like, I was going to go to bed. We're like, I guess we're doing this now.
Yep.
How would you feel like we're a week and a half into working hours? How would you feel that's changed like the way that you work? Cause you've been more sporadic, in the best way.
Yeah.
Whereas now you have to be a lot more like you're kind of grounded to this time.
More structured.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the working hours thing is very new to the business in general.
Yeah.
For the last like 2.5 years, developing the product, getting it to Kickstarter, launching Kickstarter, there's so much work in doing all of that. And a lot of the work comes from like not knowing what to do. So when people talk about starting a business, like, sure, it's a lot of like emails and like networking, and it's a lot of website building and making sure your products, work, and finding a supplier. It's all that stuff. But a lot of the work that goes into that, kind of the work under the work, is just learning what you have to do, and then learning how to do that. Another comment on like the day and age we live in is like, it's like the internet is so amazing. It'll teach you how to run a business, but it just takes a lot of time to do that. So because so much of the work is just simple education, it just kind of ended up reflecting my like study habits that I had in college, which was like up till like 2 or 3 a.m., engage in this thing that I had to learn. So because the business was something I was so passionate about, so interested in, and because I had a full-time job, like I would, work, midnight to midnight, kind of like you said, outside of working hours, and got so used to that schedule, kind of driven by that passion, that it's definitely been a change of pace to have to fit it into like a, whatever, like 8 to 5, whatever the hours are, kind of like a work day. But I realize that having other people on the same team, like not everyone works 12 to 12.
Yeah.
Now, no matter what, I'll probably continue to work 12 to 12 in some capacity.
Yeah. Because work in this scenario is thinking about the journal, writing down notes, voice memos. It's not like work in the sense of you're packing journals from midnight to midnight, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing that's really hard to distinguish, especially when you're like, trying to be entrepreneurial and start something. It's like work is kind of 24/7. Like, when I get in bed at night and I'm like, it's time to sleep, I'm still thinking about the business. I'm still thinking about like, what I need to do tomorrow or what I didn't do today or whatever it may be. So having working hours has actually been a really good guard, not just for me, but for the whole team to kind of get on the same page. Like, my brain is such that like I'm thinking about 10 things at once. And the game is to constantly unscatter them. So when you have time and you have to fill that time, you just take the scattered things, you brain dump them, you dump them in the meetings with people, whoever the relevant people are for those things, and you try your best to finish it before 5. And then the hardest thing has been trying to turn it off. Like trying to like force myself to stop working, to like go to the gym or to play video games or watch a movie or like clean the kitchen, just to get completely away from it. Has been really good. So,
so we've had like a couple big milestones, and I think that along with those milestones, I'm going to talk about the negative part before the positive part. So we had a lot of sleepless nights after Kickstarter, right? Because we didn't know when the journals were going to arrive. They got lost. A lot of stress around that. We wanted to fulfill them, and there was a lot of sleepless nights surrounding that. A lot of stress involved. And then we started getting our rhythm, and we fulfilled them. And fortunately for our sleep cycles, we were able to we like sold out of our first round in like 30 days. Yeah, something like that.
Really quick.
And then we move. We're pretty consistent through the end of the year, and then in February we quit our jobs.
February of this year, 2020.
Yeah, of this year, February 2020, and the sleep thing came back. Right, it was very hard. It was very difficult to go to sleep because you were getting up in the morning, and it's like, when does work start? When does work stop? And this feeling of ownership of, okay, now this is my full thing. I need to make sure that I'm doing this, accompanied with a global pandemic where no one can leave their house anyways, and really maybe like breaking down the expectation that you may have for yourself of like, I need to conquer the world every single day. We worked through that, and then most recently we came in here, right? This is the first time we ever really subjected ourselves to any level of overhead, and we put our business in the crosshairs of blowing up and being a lot more successful. But we also put our business in the crosshairs of potentially running out of money, right? That is the double-edged sword of moving into a place like this. Obviously the bet was worth the hand in that regard, but how would you say like your experience as like an individual and then also as a business owner has like reflected these trends through us growing our business?
A lot. I mean, as we've kind of slowly grown, that same pattern is taking place, right? You raise the stakes, and the negative gets more negative, the positive gets more positive. You raise the stakes again, negative gets more negative, and so on and so forth. I will never forget. We were recently talking about this. I'll never forget. In our old house, I slept downstairs, Kyle slept upstairs, and we had a few roommates. It's just a house we were renting for a year. We had both quit our jobs. I think it was like the beginning of February of last year. So pre-pandemic. Yeah. And we both came out of our rooms. It was, it was like first day on the job, right? Like first day full-time entrepreneur, no more like working for someone else. We're on our own. And I'm just like, did you sleep last night? And he was like, nope. It was like, oh my gosh, like I am terrified. It's like one of the first times in my life that I like had like this like visceral reaction, like this anxiety of like, oh my God, like my security's gone. Like I have skin in the game. I'm like, this is my thing that I have to make happen. So yeah, that's just like a funny story, but But no, like that was just one of those examples. Like you quit your job, right? So now the negative is like, if this business fails, I don't have a job anymore. I don't have any income, and like the shame and the embarrassment of like this thing failed. Like you have to bear that weight now even more so than you did before when it was just something on the side. You know? You can always tell your coworkers like, oh, that's just it's just a thing. But when you quit your job for it, it's like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, I think that people always talk about it as like this big like, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna retire when I'm 30. I'm my own boss. It's like, yeah, but also like the negative increases as well
by a significant margin.
Significant, you know?
Yeah.
Like it would be hard to go back and apply for jobs. You know, it's like, you know, your LinkedIn goes from I'm my own boss to like, all right, like I'm licking my wounds and I'm coming back to the workforce now.
Yeah. I mean, I even think about the first 6 months, right? Or even the first 3 months, because we quit our jobs, global pandemic, then we ran out of journals. We had nothing to do.
Yeah,
we
couldn't go outside.
We couldn't go outside. We didn't have journals to pack. We fortunately had placed another order, and we updated the journal that we had. But a lot of the things were just waiting to get in motion. And fortunately, we were able to come together as a team and do the quarantine quest and to really build our community and all of those things, which was. Like the quarantine quest, I think deserves its own whatever we do for that's like its own story.
What do you think was the best like thing that happened to the quarantine quest? And well, I guess what is the quarantine quest if you guys don't know?
Yeah, so the quarantine quest was the world shut down. I think we had the idea March 22nd or something like that. March 21st, 22nd. We had just released the digital version of our journal. Because that was like a long anticipated thing that we had been promising, but had never really followed through on. And we were like, what are we going to do? How can we provide value to these people? I think we had like maybe 100 people in the Heroes Quarters.
Yeah.
We were like, there's like that to us, that's a lot of people. And it's still a lot of people. Like if you were to put 100 people in front of me, I would think that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were trying to figure out, what can we do for the people that are like in our community and are stuck at home? So we worked with Ryan, we worked with Zach, and we spun up this side quest, quarantine quest thing. Just like clean your room, all these little side things. And we wanted to create this free thing for the world while everything was so uncertain. We didn't know if we're going to be here for a week, 2 weeks, 2 months. What now is like 9, we're coming on 10 months.
Yeah.
And I guess we're not coming on 10 months. We're coming on about 9 months. But either way, yeah, so we were just trying to create something good for the world. And I mean, I remember watching those numbers, right? We've had it a couple times since then, right? It's like the TikTok thing and all that. But the quarantine quest, I think what went right is we were able to give like something to the world that I think people in the world truly needed. I think we needed it as well. It gave us a schedule. We were going live like either every day or 3 to 4 times a week. We were doing small things in our house. We were cleaning rooms. We were like doing caption contests. We were doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
It gave us like a structure to all this uncertainty. And yeah, we were able to just like help a bunch of people find something in this like abyss. And I think that's the best thing that happened is we were just able to offer something that people truly wanted and apparently needed
for free.
Free.
Yeah. It was like the world is really in a painful place right now. And this was back. I mean, this is like early pandemic days, right? This is when it was almost like, I don't want to say fun, but there was this like degree of like, we're like,
it was heroic. It was heroic to stay inside, right?
It's like the thing where you camp in your backyard.
Yeah.
It's like, this is like, oh, we're all going to like stay inside and this is the right thing to do. And, you know, as time has gone on, like that's gotten a lot more
without getting political about it. It's not nearly as exciting as it was.
No, I mean, it's like, I mean, nothing political, but it's like you camp in your backyard one night and it's kind of fun. You camp in your backyard for 9 months and you're like, what's going on?
Can I go back inside? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think people, just the general vibe was kind of like, this is a new thing for the world. This is like a very just a different time than anyone's ever experienced who's alive right now. And so, yeah, to your point, I'm really proud of how we saw that opportunity and spun it into a way to like grow our Facebook group, but also connect with people and not charge them any money. Yeah. So we made this thing called the Quarantine Quest, obviously. And then Kyle didn't share the numbers, but like, yeah, we went from having like 100 people in our Facebook group to in like 7 days, like a full week, had like 10,000 people in a Facebook group. It was one of the most overwhelming like moments in our business.
We're able to add like 20,000 more people on our email list.
Yeah, our email list shot through the roof. Like we just like, and we weren't really trying to do this like, pithy, like smart lead gen play. Like it wasn't really a business chop move. Yeah. It was a valid, like we're trying to help the world be a better place and we're doing it for free kind of thing. And it's just so interesting how like, we've had plenty of strategy meetings around lead generation, all that stuff. Nothing has ever worked as well as just doing the right thing. What felt like the right thing that was on brand for our business to do, like for the world when the world needed it, and giving it away for free. Yeah. Like that alone helped us really grow the footprint of our customer base. And
it's so funny, right? Because as you get to know people, you start to build like time periods in it's like the Stone Age, the Middle Age, whatever it is. You build those like in your relationship, right? Like Nick and Kyle have early, like we have like dorm days at Northwest. We have like after college days, roommate days. We have all this. There are oftentimes people in the Heroes Quarters will refer to like, they'll say back in Quarantine Quest days.
Yeah.
We have like,
that moment with your audience.
And it's not even like the fact that it's like us and them. It's that we were all in this together, and they were able to have ownership over that for themselves. They're able to go to another person in the group, another hero, if you will, and be like, "Do you remember that?" They were like, "Yeah, that was great."
Yeah.
And it's something that we were able to provide, but actually connected individuals that aren't us to them, but them to each other. Yeah. And I think that's like, if that's lightning in the bottle, we definitely we're very fortunate that we had the opportunity to do something like that.
It's true. I mean, like I still scroll through the Heroes Quarters like to this day, and I just like watch. This is so weird to say, but like I just watch strangers interact with each other, and that alone is one of the most like mysterious and interesting and like in a way like a really really satisfying feeling. The fact that like it's just a Facebook group, right?
Yeah,
but in reality, like it's real human beings connecting with each other that never would have met each other otherwise.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we kind of created this like virtual tavern where like all these heroes are coming in. Some of them are talking about like their journal, their daily pages, their quests. Some of them are talking about like relationship turmoil. Some of them are talking about like, like political stuff, whatever it is, just like any form of connection is pretty cool. The fact that like we created an environment where people who wouldn't have otherwise ever known about each other are taking time to like interact and to encourage and to celebrate and to help out and to mourn with and care for like other human beings is one of the coolest things about the internet, in general, but just one of the coolest things about the Heroes Journal that I think we've done so far, sort of accidentally.
I think most of the great things about the Heroes Journal were accidents. And I think it's better that way, right? I think that's like the alchemist quote of the universe conspiring.
Yep.
Because it's when you pursue something that you're passionate about and you try to create the utmost quality in that thing, right? Like the way the journal looks and the way the journal feels is not an accident, right? That's hours of work. That's talking to suppliers, that's being nitpicky about certain little things that matter in the long run. Right. That's not an accident, but the people who get to like the experiences people have and the amount of fullness is something we can never have guessed, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't like you said in the very beginning, we wouldn't want to template out someone's experience with this thing.
No.
It's an interesting like challenge though, right? Because we have to continue to iterate on the journal itself. We have to change some of the aspects of like the daily pages and adding more structure to it, but also allowing for this kind of free flowing experience. How does that, like, when you're thinking about making the thing better, how much do you take into account someone having their own unique experience with the actual product itself?
Oh man, a lot, and a lot of that has to do with the actual criteria that we're dealing with. Like early on, I think that one of the big things we were trying to sidestep, trying to avoid, was becoming like a workbook. Mm-hmm. There's so many, and honestly, really good resources out there for like being the hero of your story. Mm-hmm. But everything that I came across, and things that I've even tried out before, they were just so clunky and they felt like so laborsome and so intense. And I also, had these journals that I love to use that were kind of, in comparison to the workbook type stuff, very like almost lightweight. Like mm-hmm. you could come to your journal every day. You could open it up, write what you need to get done, leave it open, come back to it later. It was very just kind of like mobile, if you will. Whereas these workbooks, it was like light a candle, dim the lights, make some tea and work on it for like 6 hours, like bare your soul. And so I was like, there's got to be some kind of in between the tool that's like light and mobile and the tool that kind of gets you to like think a little deeper, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So absolutely. I think that giving people that kind of avenue, trying to take the best of both of those experiences for someone to help them stay organized, but also stay mindful of what they're trying to get done, is really important. So those are kind of the guardrails, if you will. And I think that there's a lot of space between those guardrails, which provide for a fairly unique experience for heroes. So that was kind of like one of the goals, is like, let's try and wrangle this in so it doesn't feel like a chore every day. Mm-hmm. Let's like almost have like this rewarding cycle, like this dopamine hit, if you will, getting to see new art, getting to like write down what you're grateful for, like all those things compounded over a long period of time, I think will give anyone an extremely unique experience. And like an artifact, like a filled out journal, I think is like an artifact of a time of your life, like a time capsule almost of a time when you became the hero of your story. So that was the goal from the get-go. And I wanted every single experience to be its own story, its own unique thing. Mm. So yeah, that's kind of how I approached it.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I mean, even in the early days when we were like at coffee shops writing out all the stuff, and mm-hmm. we would constantly have to like, I would write something and you'd be like, it's just like, there's so much to do here. Or right. you would like write something and I'd be like, this is like, maybe it's too light.
Yeah.
There's not enough to do here. Mm-hmm. Right. And it was a real, I think the last thing I want to like talk about is just this idea of it was good enough for where we were at. Mm. There were definitely changes that we've made to the journal since our Kickstarter that have made it nth better, or however you want to say. But there was something about you and I just being like, I think this is as good as it's going to be right now.
Yeah.
And being able to get it out there into the world and to get in people's hands. And though it felt like a lot of buying then, like buying 1,000 of the thing was like, whoa. Mm-hmm. Like that's like a micro lot now. Like that's like, that's not a ton of this thing. So we really got to like iterate a couple times before we really, really saw like the fruit of some of the stuff that we're seeing now. And then even the edits we get to make now for future iterations of what we do. So
that's true. Yeah, it's so cool. I mean, we just had our pre-order right on Sunday, and we like people pre-ordered over 1,000 journals. Mm-hmm. And the fact that was our first order and that like was terrifying, it's just kind of funny. And the fact that was like, 2 years ago or so, or a year and a half ago, maybe.
We fulfilled July of 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we are a year and a half, I guess. Yeah. Year and 5 months.
Yeah. Like the fact that so much has changed in that regard is pretty insane. But no, I like what you said. I think just being okay with doing the best you can with the caveat and knowing that you are going to iterate in the future is such a skill set. Like it's when you're creating something and it's like your baby. It's like you want it to be perfect. You want the world to accept it and love it as it is. And the way that ends up turning out on the creating side, on the founder entrepreneur side, is like you don't want to release it. You keep it to your chest. You keep it quiet. It's not perfect yet. It's not ready yet. Mm-hmm. You wait so long. Oftentimes you kind of miss your window.
Yeah.
And so we have done a really good job of living by the quote, by the Voltaire quote. I mean, we have so many iterations of it at this point. Not letting the temptation to have things be perfect get in the way of having something just be, good enough to get out. If your idea is really good, if your concept's good enough, then like it will eventually be perfect.
Yeah.
But part of the fun, and this is actually a really good piece of advice that I remember getting. It's like part of the fun of running a business is letting your customers in on that journey. Like it's so much more exciting for someone to get the behind the scenes, version of what you end up becoming versus coming out with the perfect polished thing. Like you're going to make way more people happy. You're going to make them way more loyal fans to your thing. And like, you're going to have a way better idea of what your customers actually want. We've been surprised a lot of the times by what our customers actually want. That purple journal sitting in that slipcase right there. Like we didn't plan to make a purple journal for years. Yeah. We just asked. People said we want purple, and here we are. So anyway, I guess, just not letting the temptation to be perfect get in the way of your ability to be good enough today. Yeah, is like our motto.
So. It's a line, and it's the line that you want to make sure you did your due diligence. You made the product as good as it's going to be in this iteration, and knowing that it's the perfect form of what it could be today, right? It's not perfect as in general, right? Nothing is necessarily perfect in general. Yeah. But it is the perfect form of what we could do today.
So true.
And we made mistakes, right? We had a giant typo in the Kickstarter edition. It wasn't like a word that was out of context. It was literally just random assortments of letters.
Yeah, it was a literal typo. That's so funny.
And people see it and they go, you know what? This is your first edition.
Yeah.
And people are actually glad that they got to see this version of the journal.
So true.
And so I kind of want to end it there. I feel like we were able to talk about things we haven't normally talked about. So if you are someone who has been with us along the whole journey, you got to see maybe a new side of Nick and Kyle in the Heroes Journal. But also I feel like if you're new, like hopefully that was cool to kind of get to meet us and see kind of where we've been and on our story. We are going to every week come on here and just chat about our experiences, what's going well with the journal, maybe some things that aren't going very well, our mistakes, some of our things we're really proud of, and also just talking about some of the stuff that y'all say in the comments. So let us know what you want to hear about. We're always here for it. If you want to hear more about us, we have like every major social media. You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Instagram. We have other videos here on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We have our Facebook group, as well as a Facebook page. So if you want to learn some more, you can go to all those. We'll put the links in the bio of this,
the description.
Yeah. Sorry. We do that a lot. The whole bio.
The bio description discrepancy. Yeah. No. Thank you guys for watching this. If you made it all the way through, obviously this is a great real life, real time example of us. Not having things perfect yet, but doing the best we can because we think it's a good idea, and every step of the way we're just continually grateful for this group of people that's so passionate about the Heroes Journal, so passionate about becoming the hero of their story, that we get to work with and interact with. So we don't just make these things to hear ourselves talk. We really hope that this is just another cool thing that we get to make for you guys. So please be a part of it. Please hop into the comments if you want to see something talked about, or you want to have a special episode or whatever. We want you to feel like you are kind of a part of building this as well. So
one last thing. Shameless plug. You got to give us a subscribe if you want to see some more of this content. We're actually going to try to post twice a week now. One of these and our Talking Head videos. Ooh. So if you're trying to get some of that good content, give us a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Thanks, guys.